Hello, everyone, and welcome to Phoenix Talk CBA podcast. I'm your host, Jay Australia, or Sir J, as my students call me, and I'm the host of the Pisara Tales podcast. In this episode, we'll be exploring the theme Life in 20s. 2020 is about to end, and it's been one heck of a year. So, we've certainly had our ups and downs, and, as the year end approaches, it's important for us to look back a bit and think about all the things that we've learned this year. I know that it's, our perception of this year has been warped, from the slowness of the earlier months like March and April to the rush of, May until even December, right? It's all been one such blur. But I believe that there are things that we can learn from this year. And I would like to share with you top 5 things rather that I've learned this year. Number 1, first thing I've learned this year is that you are doing fine. And I know that's a bit hard to grasp, but think about it. If you made it this far through this crazy year, you should give yourself a pat on the back because, these are abnormal circumstances that we are in. And yet for us to make it at the end of the year, safe, hopefully if you're safe, hopefully if you're healthy as well, for us to make it, in such a state, that already merits a win. And I think we should allow ourselves to cut ourselves a little bit of slack every time we achieve these little wins throughout the year. If you think about it, for example, if you're a student and you finish your modules, that's a win. If ever you think about the requirements that you passed, or if you've ever learned a new dish to create, or if you've ever learned a new hobby, these are wins. And in a year with so few wins, counting them becomes more important. And so just think about all the things that you've done this year, all the things that you've accomplished, no matter how small they are, and tell yourself that, hey, you're doing fine. There's nothing to worry about, right? Second thing I learned this year is that we should always cherish our friends and family. In this difficult year, it's important for us to have a support system. I'm sure you've seen throughout social media that there are a lot of Zoom calls or Google Meet calls. They're just having fun, right? Friends having fun. That might seem a little bit weird at first, but if you think about it, at a time where we are socially distant, these are the things that could help anchor us and help us to keep sane despite all the circumstances we're in. And so if you are blessed enough or fortunate enough to have a good support system, always cherish them. Check up on them. Just make sure to ask them how their day went. It doesn't have to be a very long conversation, but I'm pretty sure your friends will appreciate you if you just check up on them. And this doesn't just go for friends, right? This is also applicable to your family members. If you are unfortunately living away from your family, you can always check up on them. Take a few minutes of your day to text your mom or your dad or your siblings, right? Just knowing that people are out there for you really helps a lot. And it really, boosts the morale of someone who's probably going through a difficult time. And so that is one thing as well that I learned this year. Another thing that I learned this year is that rest is productive. And that sounds very counterintuitive. And what do you mean by rest being productive? Right? I'm resting. How am I, being productive in this? It's a cliche nowadays, especially, but rest is productive in such a way that, allowing yourself to take breaks, allowing yourself to pause and understand that these are not normal circumstances. It helps you reset your mind a bit. It helps you clear your mind a bit, right? And understand that going back to number 1, you are doing fine. So this is really related to the first thing that I mentioned a while ago. Rest is productive because it allows you to reset and reassess what are the important things in my life. What are the things that I need to get done, right? And I don't mean in a deliverable type of way. I mean that what is important to me. There are people who are reconsidering their life choices, I suppose, throughout this year, like trying to assess what is really important to me, what do I want in life. And so having that time for you to rest and think about those things really helps you set your mindset to what you really want to achieve in 2021 and beyond. And giving yourself time to rest, right? Of course, think about it. Your gadgets, they also need to rest, and they're inanimate objects. What more, you as a person, a living human being, you should allow yourself to rest. And when you allow yourself to rest, you'll end up doing greater things, better things, right? Because you are well rested. Number 4, the thing that I learned this year, and I know you've been hearing this so many times already, but always wear a mask, right? Not just because of the whole COVID situation. Wearing a mask actually shows your compassion for others. You might think that this might be a very simple health advisory, but showing that you care about your fellow man, you can show that by wearing a mask. Because wearing a mask, your face mask, right? Wearing a face mask gives that sense that you care not just about yourself, but you also care about others, because you don't want this disease to spread. And that shows compassion for others. That shows that you care about other people around you, your family members, your peers, your friends, things that, and the people that you are interacting with. It's showing that you take these health precautions seriously, rather. It allows other people to understand that, hey, this guy cares enough about his or her society to take these precautions and not and prevent the spread of this disease. So just wearing that mask, or sanitizing, or limiting your face-to-face interactions as much as you can, practicing social distancing, all these things may seem like your normal day-to-day health advisory concerns, but in reality, when you do them, you're also showing compassion for others. And finally, one thing that I learned this year, and one advice as well I could give to you guys, is that please register to vote in upcoming elections. Now, I don't want to sound too political, but showing that effort in registering to vote. I mean, let's face it, these are not the best circumstances that we could be in. Of course, there are a lot of other countries who are doing well in mitigating this whole pandemic. And, let's face it, we're not doing a really good job. And, of course, we can complain about it. But at the same time, we should also take steps in, doing better for our society. We always have this saying that, the youth is the future of our country. Right? Kabataan na pag-asa ng ating bayan. And that rings through. By showing your effort in registering to vote, it tells the world, it tells the country, it tells the society that you care about this country and that you are going to do your best to make proper choices this upcoming election, right? If you are not satisfied with how the government is handling this, then maybe you should think about the leaders that you want. We can always do our best to raise our concerns, but also, registering to vote is within our rights, right? And you shouldn't be afraid to speak out your mind like this. So think about those 5 things, all right? First of all, you are doing fine. Second, cherish your friends and family. Third, rest is productive. Fourth, always wear a mask. And 5, register to vote. That's it from me. Thank you very much for joining me in this episode. If you want to hear more about the things that I talk about in my podcast, you can visit that. You can check out the Pisara Tales podcast, where I talk more about my thoughts and opinions as a young millennial teacher. At the same time, the Pisara Tales is also part of the Filipinas Indie Podcast and Entertainment Network. If you're thinking about, listening to podcasts as a hobby, it's a really great time to think about podcasts. I mean, we're doing one right now. And so you could check out all the different shows in the network, the Pipe Network. Check that out and more by going to linktr.ee/The Pisara Tales. That's linktr.ee/The Pisara Tales, right? You'll see the different things there for my podcast and for the whole network. This has been a project of the Central Philippine University College of Business and Accountancy Provincial Council. Once again, this has been your host, Sir J, wishing you a wonderful